Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Gauranga. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Gauranga. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, and with pranams. Thank you all very much for joining in for our Bhagavad Gita study session today. Today we're going to continue 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita from text number 54. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yudapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Gurave Gaurachandraya, Radhikaya Tadalaye, Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya, Tadbhaktaya, Namo Namaha. Mukam karoti vachalam, pangum langayate girim, yat kripatamaham vande, Shri Gurun Dinatarinam, Paramananda Madhavam, Shri Krishna Chaitanyam Ishwaram, Harihi Om Tatsat. Hare Krishna. Dear devotees, thank you all very much for joining in for our Bhagavad Gita study. We are on chapter number 18. We are continuing with text number 54. Before that, what we are seeing in this chapter, Arjuna inquires from Lord Shri Krishna, what is the difference between Tyaga and Sannyasa? Right? Tyaga means to give up the results of the activities that we do when we perform Swadharma. When we give up the results of that work, that is Karma Yoga. But when we Yat Karoshi, Yat Ashnashi, Yat Juhoshi, Dadasi, Yat Tapashyasi Kaunteya, Tam Kurushva Madarpanam, if we offer it to the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then it becomes Bhakti Yoga. That means we are not just detached from the results, but we are offering the results to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then we saw what is the state of consciousness when a person becomes completely free from false ego. He becomes completely non-attached to material things. He understands his realization of being a Jivera Swarupa Hoye Krishna Nityadas, being in the position of one's constitutional position as a servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then what is that stage called? That is a stage when one can actually start performing devotional service. So such a words we're going to start with today. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma Na Shochati Na Kankshati Sama Sarveshu Bhuteshu Mad Bhakte Labate Param. This will be the verse that you are memorizing for today. What is this verse? Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. That means Na Shochati Na Kankshati. That means this person is neither hankering for material things, nor is he longing for those things that are lost. Because that is a norm of this material world, that sometimes we get some things, sometimes we don't get things that we want, sometimes we get some things, but it gets lost, right? So that is the nature of this material world. And the point of starting to perform devotional service is when one comes to the stage of Brahma Bhuta, Prasannatma. Prasannatma means one is equipoised, whether in times of happiness or distress, whether in times of heat or cold, whether one is being respected or disrespected, does not matter. But one is equipoised in all circumstances. All right, let's move ahead. 18.54. Okay, devotees can raise your hands and then we start studying. Okay, Anusha Mataji, go ahead. Text number 54.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranams. Thank you, Mataji. Text 54. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatva na sochati na kankshati samasarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labate param. Synonyms: Brahma Bhuta, being one with the Absolute. Prasannatma, fully joyful. Na, never. Sochati, laments. Na, never. Kankshati, desires. Samaha, equally disposed. Sarveshu, to all. Bhuteshu, living entities. Mat Bhaktim, my devotional service. Labate, gains. Param, transcendental. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. One who is thus transcendentally situated at once realizes the supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed towards every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. Purport. To the impersonalist, achieving the Brahmabhuta stage, becoming one with the Absolute, is the last word. But for the personalist or pure devotee, one has to go still further to become engaged in pure devotional service. This means that one who is engaged in pure devotional service to the Supreme Lord is already in a state of liberation called Brahmabhuta, oneness with the Absolute. Without being one with the Supreme, the Absolute, one cannot render service unto him. In the absolute conception, there is no difference between the served and the servitor, yet the distinction is there in a higher spiritual sense. In the material concept of life, when one works for sense gratification, there is misery. But in the absolute world, when one is engaged in pure devotional service, there is no misery. The devotee in Krishna consciousness has nothing for which to lament or desire. Since God is full, a living entity who is engaged in God's service in Krishna consciousness becomes also full in himself. He is just like a river cleansed of all dirty water. Because a pure devotee has no thought other than Krishna, he is naturally always joyful. He does not lament for any material loss or aspire for gain because he is full in the service of the Lord. He has no desire for material enjoyment because he knows that every living entity is a fragmental part and parcel of the Supreme Lord and therefore eternally a servant. He does not see in the material world someone as higher and someone as lower. Higher and lower positions are ephemeral, and a devotee has nothing to do with the ephemeral appearances or disappearances. For him, stone and gold are of equal value. This is the Brahma Bhuta stage, and this stage is attained very easily by the pure devotee. In that stage of existence, the idea of becoming one with the Supreme Brahman and annihilating one's individuality becomes hellish. The idea of attaining the heavenly kingdom becomes phantasmagoria, and the senses are like serpents whose poison teeth are broken. As there is no fear of a serpent with broken teeth, there is no fear from the senses when they are automatically controlled. The world is miserable for the materially infected person, but for a devotee the entire world is as good as Vaikunta, or the spiritual sky. The highest personality in the material universe is no more significant than an ant for a devotee. Such a stage can be achieved by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, who preached pure devotional service in this age. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. So there is another verse which is very, very similar. What is the drishti of a devotee? Right? Vidya vinaya sampanne brahmane gavihastini shuni chaiva swapakyecha panditaha samadarshinaha. What does samadarshinaha mean? Samadarshina means the devotee sees everything, every situation, every object for the service of the Lord. He sees the Paramatma present in every living entity. He does not distinguish between a dog or an elephant or a living entity. It does not mean that he's going to go and hug a dog or an elephant or a tiger. That does not mean, one has intelligence, how to behave with certain people, right? That intelligence also comes from the Lord. But he knows that all of us are souls, right? How we do adan pradan, right? It all depends on our relationship with that person, right? We don't talk with one person, how we don't talk with another person. Depends on our relationship with that person. However, whatever be the relationship, for one, we may have a friendly relationship. Another person may be our Shiksha Guru. We offer respect to that person. Another person may be somebody who's doing devotional service with us, who's very close to us, whom we can, whom we can talk to each other, without any inhibitions. So our relationship determines the way we interact with people. But at the same time, what is our consciousness? We see everyone as parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whether it is a dog or a cat or a hog or whatever it may be. We always look at every living entity as part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? So in such a case, what happens? There is no propensity for sense gratification because one is already situated in Brahma Bhuta, Prasannatma, very joyful, right? And Krishna himself says here, na shochiti na kankshi, that means there is no lamentation. There is no desire to acquire material things for sense gratification. Right? In that situation, mad bhakti labate param, one can acquire, labate means to acquire, one can acquire bhakti, or one becomes situated in the platform of bhakti only when one relinquishes sense gratification. Sense gratification and Krishna consciousness go ill together. It is not that, okay, I will enjoy senses also. At the same time, I will chant Hare Krishna also. Does not go together. Right? There was a person, who was rowing the whole night in the boat, so much mehnat. Right? In the morning also, he saw, I'm still at the same place where I've not even left. Why? Because he's not pulled out the anchor. Right? So as long as we have attachment, which is the anchor to the material world, to sense gratification, we can keep on rowing. Right? Because the holy name is Shuddha, right? Apapa Viddha, it can destroy all sinful reactions. It is extremely pure. We will slowly progress. Very slowly we may progress. But do we want to wait for lifetimes after lifetimes to attain the Supreme Personality of Godhead? So we want to, this attachment and detachment goes parallel, hand in hand. The more we are absorbed in chanting Hare Krishna, the more we are attentive in chanting Hare Krishna, the more we are, attention, absorption, and awareness, right? The chanting of the Hare Krishna is not different from the Supreme Lord himself. This is my association, personal time with the Lord. Then we focus more and more on chanting Hare Krishna properly. And that is where we develop attachment to the Lord. And automatically this anchor to the sense gratification, to the material objects, to the material world, the three modes of material nature automatically gets detached. And that person becomes as good as a person in the Vaikuntha planets, because there is no kunta in his life, in his consciousness. There is no aham mameti, there is no sense gratification. There is no I want to do this, I want to achieve this, I want to take this, I want to get credit for this. I is removed. Then one becomes a Vaikuntha man. Right? Otherwise, we are always eternally to be situated in this kunta. There is material life as a kunta, means, there is birth, there is death, disease, old age. There is adhyatmika klesha, adhibautika klesha, and adhyatmika klesha is caused by the mind and the senses. Adhibautika klesha is caused by other living entities, right? The mosquito comes and bites, that also we cannot tolerate. Arey, what is this? Right? We are caused so much difficulty by small living entities around us. And adhidaivik kleshas, right? Suddenly there is flood, suddenly there is fire, suddenly this happens, that happens, and because of that, we are troubled, right? We are troubled by adhyatmic, adhibautik, and adhidaivik kleshas. And yet, what do we think? Oh, this world is meant for my sense enjoyment. I can enjoy this world according to, how much money I have. I will be able to enjoy and get all the things that are required for my sense enjoyment, right? So this is the person who is a kunta mentality. Whereas a person who is Vaikuntha mentality, he knows, I don't possess anything in this world. Everything has been given to me for a purpose. And that purpose is to serve the Lord. And in that state of mind, one is happy and blissful, irrespective of whether some things are given to him or irrespective of whether some things are taken away from him. So in this consciousnness, one is always situated in devotional service. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na shochati na kankshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhakte labate param. Labate means to get. Param means the service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Mat means Krishna is telling this verse. Mat, right? One gets devotional service unto me. That's what Krishna is saying. All right, let's move forward. Text number 55. Devotees can raise your hands. And Shobha Malaji, please note 54 is today's verse for Mananam. And yesterday we studied 1.1 and 2.7 as part of our Ekadashi. So we will post in the Ekadashi group from the 108 verses. We have the verse and the translation. I'm not sure. Shobha Malaji, would you have it? Otherwise, just message me. I will send it to you. So you can send those two verses every Ekadashi. We can send it to the devotees. So from next week, this week, mostly we are likely to complete. This week or next week, we'll complete the Bhagavad Gita study. We'll start Bhagavatam. And then we will study 2 verses every fortnight on Ekadashi. And then we will do Bhagavatam, one verse every week. Right? That will be our plan of study of verses of Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. All right. So let's move forward. Shobha Mataji, you okay? Is it clear? Or either message me otherwise. All right. Okay. It's fine. Text number 55. Okay. Anyone wants to read? Let me share my screen. Okay. Karpavali Mataji, go ahead. Then Mashmi Mataji, Rajanish Prabhu, and then Deval Mataji can read. Yes, Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, text 55. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yasmi tatvata tato mam tato vato jnanva.
Okay, tato mam tatvato jnatva.
Tato mam tattvato jnatva
Risate
tat anantaram. Thank you, Mataji. Synonymous. Bhakti, by pure devotional service, Mam, me, Abhijanati, one can know, Yavan, as much as, Yacha, as me, as I am, Tattvaha, in truth, Tata, thereafter, Mam, me, Tattvaha, in truth, Jnantvava, knowing, this is the day he enters, Tat Anantaram, thereafter. Translation and purport by Prabhupada ki jai. One can understand me as I am as the Supreme Personality of Godhead only by devotional service, and when one is in full consciousness of me as such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna and his plenary portions cannot be understood by mental speculation nor by the non-devotees. If anyone wants to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he has to take up to pure devotional service under the guidance of a pure devotee. Otherwise, the truth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead will always be hidden. As already stated in Bhagavad Gita 7.05, Naham Prakashya Sarvasya, he is not able to. Naham Prahasya Sarvasya, he is not able to anyone. No one can understand God simply by erudite scholarship or mental speculation. Only one who is actually engaged in Krishna consciousness and devotional service can understand what Krishna is. University degrees are not helpful. One who is full conversant with the Krishna science become eligible to enter into the spiritual kingdom, the abode of Krishna. Becoming Brahmin does not mean that one loses his identity. Devotional service is there as long as the devotional service exists. There must be God, the devotee, and the process of devotional service. Such knowledge is never vanquished, even after liberation. Liberation involves getting free from the concept of material life. In spiritual life, the same distinction is there and the same individuality is there, but in pure Krishna consciousness. One should not mistakenly think that the world persists, enters into me, support the theory, Visate enters into me, supports the monastery, and one can become homogeneous with the impersonal Brahman. No, Visate means one can enter into the abode of Supreme Lord in one's individuality to engage in this association and render service unto him. For instance, green bird enters green tree, not to become one with the tree, but to enjoy the fruits of the tree. Impersonals generally give the example of a river flowing into the ocean and merging. This may be a source of happiness for impersonals, but the personalist keeps this personal individuality like aquatic in the ocean. We find so many living entities within the ocean. If we go deep surface, acquaintance with the ocean is not sufficient. One must have complete knowledge of the aquatics living in the ocean depth. Because of this pure devotional service, the devotee can understand. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. This is a long purport. So let's quickly discuss this. So in this, Prabhupada is giving the concept of Achintya Abheda Bheda Tattva. How the Jiva and the Supreme Personality of Godhead are one in quality, but they are not one in quantity. What do the Brahmavadis they do? They say that we go and merge into the Brahman just like the rivers flow into the ocean, right? Then can you say that this is river water, this is ocean water? We cannot distinguish. So they say that this is the Brahmavadi philosophy that I will, as a Jiva, I will merge into Parabrahman. Just like a river merges into the ocean, and I will lose my existence. But Prabhupada is saying a personalist view, which is a higher view, which is the understanding with the proper understanding of Krishna consciousness. Is Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and I am part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. The same analogy Prabhupada or the personalists can give is that it's not like a river and the ocean merging. It is about the ocean and the aquatics in the ocean. There are several living entities, the whales, the sharks, the fishes in the ocean, right? So when we go deep into the ocean, we'll be able to see all these aquatics in the ocean depths. Similarly, when the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, if you are simply on the surface, right, just a namesake Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare, talking to people, looking at the mobile, looking at the TV, looking at the cricket match, looking at the TV serials, and also chanting. Very good. We should do that. But that should be over and above our 16 rounds. Our minimum 16 prescribed rounds, we have to sit down quietly in a place which is where we can adequately concentrate on the holy names of the Lord, and then we are able to keep ourselves absorbed in the holy names of the Lord. In that place, you have to chant our minimum 16 rounds. After that, if you're chanting 100 rounds, 128 rounds, 50 rounds, 32 rounds, 64 rounds, then you can chant your extra rounds when you are folding the clothes, when you are mopping the floor, when you are filling up water bottles, whatever else we may be doing at home. We can continuously chant the Hare Krishna Mantra, or we can hear some nice lectures of senior devotees. So in this way, what happens? We are conscious of the Lord 100% at all times, because we are hearing about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? So similarly, what brings about this absorption in the chanting is not the chanting in the surface, but you have to go deep down into the chanting. What is meant by going deep down into the chanting? That means we are chanting with so much of absorption. Like when a person dives right into the ocean and goes down, right? Then one can get all those pearls, right, which are there in the deep bed of the ocean. Whereas someone who's swimming on the top of the ocean, you cannot swim, but someone who's just fallen and is trying to get his way out, he will not be able to see the aquatics in the ocean. He will not be able to see the gems which are there in the lowermost bed of the ocean, right? So one has to go deep to understand the real truth associated with the matter. Otherwise, what do we think? Oh, the rivers flow into the ocean. Similarly, I will also join with the Brahman and become Parabrahman. I will also become the Supreme Lord. I will also become that light. And then what happens? What happens to that light? After that, we get bored being situated in that particular light for a long time. And then what do? We fall down, and then we want to do philanthropic activities. We want to open temples. We want to open charitable, charity institutes, right? You have the trusts, and you want to open schools and colleges and temples and trusts and whatnot. Why? Because you want to experience that reciprocation with people. People say, oh, you are so wonderful. Oh, you are so much, you are, you are our savior. You have created this platform for us so that our children can go and study, right, etc., etc. When they hear such glorification, then they feel very happy. Okay, so somebody is benefiting because of me. I am something. I am someone. I have done a wonderful task. So in this way, they want glorification, and everybody wants this reciprocation, right? If one does not get reciprocation with the Lord, in service to the Lord, then what one does, now one seeks such reciprocation from all of the people, right? It starts with our relatives, it starts with our friends, it starts with our community members. We want to speak good of ourselves. Oh, you know what, I did this. You know what, I did this. And in this way, what do we expect from them? Oh, very nice. You're doing so many wonderful tasks. Because we are not getting that reciprocation from the Lord. Why we are not getting the reciprocation? Because we are not understanding our Swarupa. We are not understanding that my chanting is for the pleasure of the Lord. When the Lord is pleased and that reciprocation is established, or when I follow the instructions of the Guru is pleased, then that reciprocation is automatically there. It flows to our heart, and our heart is satisfied. So we are not looking for those the compliments of this material world, which are neither true nor are from the heart. Right? Sometimes they may be true from the heart also, but they're not going to give us permanent bliss. They may give us, some moments of happiness, and then again it is all lost. Right? Just like we were talking about the other day. Somebody donated a fan to the temple. He wanted his name written on the fan. Who is going to see whose name is written on the fan? Probably on the day they inaugurate the fan, they will call up this person and appreciate that person. After that, the next day also, if the person wants to be glorified, who's going to glorify him? He's going to get frustrated. Oh, मैंने इतना पैसा दिया, मेरा नाम ही नहीं बोल रहे. Right? So what is the intent with which you're doing something? Is it to obtain name, fame, glory? As long as as long as our intention to do any devotional service also, or any charity also, is to get, this praise, name, fame, glory, etc., we are sure to be frustrated. But if our desire is to attain Krishna prema, then Krishna will give us, right? The Damodar month is going to start in a day or two, in 17th, today is 15th, day after tomorrow. So, so if our desire is to please the Lord, then the Lord will give us mata smriti jnanam apohanam cha. Lord will give us forgetfulness of our material sense objects. The Lord will give us remembrance of, of how effective, the Kartik Damodar month observance is for our devotional life, how much Krishna will be pleased. So such kind of remembrance will come to us, and forgetfulness of our unnecessary attachment to sense gratification and doing nonsensical things, Krishna will make us forget it. Right? And with that, what happens? We are able to practice devotional service more and more. It's only by the mercy of the Lord that we're able to practice even devotional service, right? So only by pure devotional service, one can understand the Nama, Rupa, Guna, Leela of the Lord. And in this way, one is able to remember the Lord throughout the life. And at the end of the life, one is able to go back home, back to Godhead. All right. So there are 2 more paragraphs to this purport. Somebody else can read this. Okay, let me share my screen. Moshmi Mataji can go ahead. Yeah. Yes, Mataji. Because of his pure devotional service.
Yeah, because of his pure devotional service, you can hear Hare Krishna Mataji Dandavat
Yes,
Pranam.
yes.
Huh. Because of his pure devotional service, a devotee can understand the transcendental qualities and the opulence of the Supreme Lord in truth. As it is stated in the 11th chapter, only by devotional service can one understand. The same is confirmed here. One can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead by devotional service and entered into his kingdom. After
Attainment.
attainment of the Brahma Buddha state of freedom from material conception, devotional service being by once hearing about
Begins.
the Lord begins by one's hearing about the Lord. When one hears about the Supreme Lord, automatically the Brahma Bhuta state develops, and material contamination, greediness, and lust for sense enjoyment disappears. As lust and desires disappears from the heart of the devotee, he becomes more attached to the service of Lord, and by such attachment, he becomes free from material contamination. In that state of life, he can understand the Supreme Lord. This is the statement of Srimad Bhagavatam also. After liberation, the process of bhakti or transcendental service continues. The Vedanta Sutra 4.1.12 confirms this. Priyanat tatrapi he darshanam. This means that after liberation, the process of devotional service continues. The Srimad Bhagavatam real devotional liberation is uh, defined uh, as the reinstatement of the living entities in his own identity, his own constitutional position. The constitutional position is already explained. Every living entity is a part and parcel fragmental portion of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, his constitutional position to the
Is to serve.
positional is to uh, serve
constitutional position is to serve liberation.
After liberation, the service is never stopped. Actual liberation is getting free from misconception of life.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So, Bhaktyamam Abhijanati Yavan Yaschasmi Tattvataha. I am known as I am only by a pure devotee of the Lord. Right? Nobody else can understand me as I am. Right? That's what Krishna says. Right? Because the Yoga Maya Samavrataha. Right? What is that? Yoga Maya Samavrata means our eyes are blocked by the Yoga Maya potency, because of which we are not able to see things as they are. Otherwise, when we see the Lord, we should be able to see the Shama Sundar form of the Lord. But what do we see? We see only just a Murti, just standing in front of us. Right? We're not able to see the real form of the Lord because the Yoga Maya Samavrataha. Because we are in the Sadhaka stage, we don't yet have that eyes of Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadai Bharadeshu Vilokayanti. The sadhus who have attained Krishna Prema, they see the Lord every time when they close their eyes, they'll be seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead manifesting so many leelas. Right? But unfortunately, we have not developed that stage. So we are not able to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And also, Krishna personally hides himself through his Yoga Maya. Right? To those people who either are envious of the Lord or who want to merge with the Lord. But the Lord automatically reveals himself to those who are engaged in the process of bhakti. Right? Swayam eva surati adaha. Ata Shri Krishna namadina bhavet grahim indriyehi. Sevon mukehi jivvadav swayam eva surati adaha. So automatically, to a person who's engaged in devotional service, the Lord will reveal himself. Right? That is what is the destination of a person who understands his constitutional position is to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Jivera Swarupahoya Krishnera Nityadas. Right? And what is this? Prabhupada is actually taking in the purport to a higher level. Even after a death, right? That means if we get a spiritual body, we will go back to the spiritual world and we'll render devotional service. Otherwise, the process continues, right? According to our, last desire, we will be born again in this material world. We will continue from 60%. If we've completed 59% in the previous life, the next body, we will start from the 60%. Aprayanat tatrapi drishtam. That means what? Even after liberation. Liberation means there are two levels. One liberation is at the platform of attaining mukti. Mukti hitvanyata rupam swarupena vyavastitihi. What is mukti? Mukti means hitvanyata rupam. That means I'm situated in my constitutional position and I'm serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It can be even when I'm living, right? When I have this understanding, I am the servant of the Lord, and I don't want dharma, artha, kama, moksha. I don't want wealth. I don't want the satisfaction of my desires. I don't even want to get liberation. I don't want mukti from this world. I don't want to go to the heavenly planets. I don't want any kind of enjoyment. Right? In that situation, when one serves the Lord with a pure desire to serve the Lord, one is automatically, even situated in the material world, has automatically attained mukti. Right? So mukti and bhakti are synonymous. Why? Because in the actual mukti platform or in actual liberated platform, one is continuously performing bhakti, ahaituki apratihata, causeless bhakti for an uninterrupted bhakti for the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in that situation, one is free from the misconceptions of life. So that can be a state where one is actually living in this world. And of course, the other one, we all know that when we liquid this body, if we remember the Lord, we will come back to Godhead, where we will eternally serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is also mukti. What is that mukti? Mukti is serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead wherever we are. Wherever the service of ahaituki apratihata, exclusively the pleasure of the Lord, then one is automatically situated in the mukti platform. And such kind of mukti is not different from bhakti. But whereas that mukti which is self-centric, that means merging with the Brahman or becoming the Lord myself, those kind of things are lower realizations of the Supreme Absolute Truth, either Paramatma realization or Brahman realization. They're all, they all don't give the bliss that the Atma, that the soul is hankering for, right? We are all in need of bliss, and that can only be attained by serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, text number 56. Okay, Rajneesh Prabhu, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, I
Yes.
want to say something. Please bless me. I can.
Mataji, end of the class. Sorry, end of the class. Hare Krishna. Okay, Rajneesh Prabhu, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam. Yes, Mataji. Yes, Prabhu.
सर्वकर्माण्यपि सदा कुर्वाणो मद्व्यपाश्रयः मत्प्रसादाद् वाप्नोति शाश्वतं पदमव्ययम्. Union Sarva all karmani activities api although sada always kurvanah performing mat mat vyapas one mat vyapastra under my protection mat mat prasadat by my mercy avapnoti one achieves sasvatam the eternal padam abode avayam imperishable. Translation and purported by Sri Prabhupada Ji, Sri Prabhupada Ji Jai. Though engaged in all kinds of activities, my pure devotee under my protection reaches the eternal and imperishable abode by my grace. Purport: the word Mad Vyapa Mad Vyapa Sarah means under the protection.
Advyapashrayah.
Mad
Ashraya
Vyapa
means protection.
Ashraya. Ashraya means under the protection of Supreme Lord. To be free from material contamination, a pure devotee acts under the direction of the Supreme Lord or his representative, the spiritual master. There is no time limitation for a pure devotee. He is always 24 hours a day, 100% engaged in activities under the direction of his Supreme Lord. To a devotee who is thus engaged in Krishna consciousness, the Lord is very, very kind. In spite of all difficulties, he is eventually placed in the transcendental abode or Krishna Loka. He is granted entrance there. There is no doubt about it. In that supreme abode, there is no change. Everything is eternal, imperishable, and full of knowledge.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. So there are two words here, Mad Vyapashrayah and Mat Prasadat. Right? So, what is the characteristic of a pure devotee? The pure devotee does not do anything different from an ordinary person. Only that there is a difference in the consciousness. So what is that difference in the consciousness? An ordinary person goes to the office, an ordinary person cooks food at home, an ordinary person washes clothes, an ordinary person goes to sleep. Everything an ordinary person does is equal to the activities done by a devotee also. But what does a devotee do? A devotee is mat vyapashrayah. He is always surrendered to the Lord and takes only the Lord for his protection. And mat prasadat, one who automatically or always depends on the mercy of the Lord. Mat vyapashrayah, one who takes my protection. Mat prasadat, by my mercy. What does he attain? The devotee, he attains the eternal abode by my grace. That's what Krishna is personally saying here. And what is Mat Vipashraya? Not taking protection from 10 different people. So this person will give me this money, this person will give me this person will give me this. 10, 15 people, we have backup options. If this person says no, then this person will give. If not, this person will give. Right? But Krishna wants Ananya Bhakti. Krishna wants us to surrender to him without expectation or without having a backup plan. Right? If you are worshipping Krishna, we are also worshipping other demigods. Okay, the demigods also will give me this. If the demigods don't give, let's pay to Krishna also. Then what do you do? Then Krishna is just one of your desire supplying agents. Right? And then Prabhupada says that Krishna is not our servant. We are praying to Krishna, oh Krishna, oh Lord, give us our daily bread. It's not a proper kind of prayer. Why? Because Krishna gives everything to everyone. Samoham sarva bhuteshu. So it is not our duty or any person's requirement. Right? Krishna provides for animals. The elephants eat so much and the elephants' food are adequately provided for. They don't ask for their daily bread. Yet everything is provided for all the species. Whatever is their need is already provided for. Jivo, jivasya jivanam. Everything is provided for. But then we don't have to go to the Lord and ask, I want this, I want this, I want this. That is not taking protection. Even though that is a lower level, that whatever we want to ask only Krishna. That is at least a level better than asking all the demigods for hundreds of things. Right? The demigods may give it to us and then we feel frustrated after receiving it because either we've not received what we wanted or we want to receive more of it. In either case, we are frustrated. So, What is a devotee? Why a devotee alone is protected by the Supreme Lord? Why? Because he acts according to the direction of the Supreme Lord, which are given in the Vedic scriptures. Guru, Shastra, Sadhu. This tripoint a devotee always follows. He surrenders to the Lord by chanting Hare Krishna. And in that way, when one surrenders to the Lord, engages in Krishna consciousness all the time, although externally it may seem that a person may be undergoing a lot of difficulties, he is being protected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that is what is the Ashraya that is mentioned here. Right? So the very important point that always comes to my mind is the example of Parikshit Maharaj. Parikshit Maharaj was protected in the womb of his mother Uttara. His material body was protected, and a higher level of protection was given when he left his material body. At that time, the protection that Krishna gave to Parikshit Maharaj is much, much higher than the protection that Krishna gave in the womb of Mother Uttara, protecting the material body. Right? This material body is perishable now or later. Right? But the protection of the remembrance of the Supreme Lord that he awarded to Parikshit Maharaj at the time of his death, that is far greater, because the effect of that, or the remembrance of the Lord at the time of death, is guaranteeing eternal, permanent happiness for eternal time to come. Right? Whereas this material body is, even if it's protected by the Lord, this material body is destined to die at some time or the other. Maybe if not today, some other day. Right? So this kind of protection, of course, that whatever protection the Lord offers is according to the will of the Lord. We have to be grateful to the Lord in all circumstances. But the Lord knows what kind of protection to give when. You are not going to demand the Lord, oh Lord, you did not protect Parikshit Maharaj's body. You made him die. That Takshak came and bit him on the seventh day. Is this your protection? Is this what you're doing to a devotee? Like that. Some people think they have this very informal relationship with the Lord. They shout to the Lord, complain to the Lord. Right? Different bhavas, different rasas devotee may have. So we are not to talk anything about that. But a devotee's heart, right, at least coming in the bona fide Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya, Vishnu Parampara, is to be grateful in all situations. Do not have any complaint against the Lord. Right? What is that verse? Jivet ye mukti pade sadayabak. Right? Tatte no kampam susamikshmano bunjana evatma kritam vipakam hridvagvapurbir namaste jivet ye mukti pade sadayabak. Right? So someone who gets lot of suffering, but still he thinks, I am supposed to get more suffering. But due to my past activities and karmas and desires, I should get more suffering. But the Lord is so merciful. The Lord is giving only 1% of the token for all of my misdoings in the past. This is for my purification. The Lord is giving me this token so that I can get purified of all my sinful reactions, and in this way go back home, back to Godhead. So this is the understanding of the devotee, by which a devotee is happy and is grateful to the Lord even in trying situations, even in situations where there is suffering. Right? So in this way, this is the attitude of a devotee. What is the attitude of a devotee? Gratefulness, humility, tolerance in all situations, accepting the shelter of the Lord, perceiving the shelter of the Lord in all situations. That is the attitude of a devotee. All right, let's go ahead. Text number 57. All right. Okay, Deval Mataji, please unmute and I've not shared the screen. Yeah, 1 second. Oh yeah, I've shared. Okay, my system is quite slow. I don't know why. Okay, Deval Mataji, go ahead.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Mataji, Dharma Pranam. Chetasa sarvakarmani mai sanyasya matparaha buddhiyogamupashritya matchitta satatam bhava. Synonyms: Chetasa, by intelligence; Sarva Karmani, all kinds of activities; Mai, unto me; Sanyasya, giving up; Matparaha, under my protection; Buddhi Yogam, devotional activities; Upashritya, taking shelter of; Matchittaha, in consciousness of me; Satatam, 24 hours a day; Bhava, just become. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In all activities, just depend upon me and work always under my protection. In such devotional service, be fully conscious of me. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki jai. When one acts in Krishna consciousness, he does not act as the master of the world. Just like a servant, one should act fully under the direction of the Supreme Lord. A servant has no individual independence. He acts only on the order of the master. A servant acting on behalf of the Supreme Master is unaffected by profit and loss. He simply discharges his duty faithfully in terms of the order of the Lord. Now, one may argue that Arjuna was acting under the personal direction of Krishna, but when Krishna is not present, how should one act? If one acts according to the direction of Krishna in this book, as well as under the guidance of the representative of Krishna, then the result will be the same. The Sanskrit word mat paraha is very important in this verse. It indicates that one has no goal in life save and except acting in Krishna consciousness just to satisfy Krishna. And while working in that way, one should think of Krishna only. I have been appointed to discharge this particular duty by Krishna. While acting in such a way, one naturally has to think of Krishna. This is perfect Krishna consciousness. One should, however, note that after doing something whimsically, he should not offer the result to the Supreme Lord. That sort of duty is not in the devotional service of Krishna consciousness. One should act according to the order of Krishna. This is very important point. That order of Krishna comes through disciplic succession from the bona fide spiritual master. Therefore, the spiritual master's order should be taken as a prime duty of life. If one gets a bona fide spiritual master and acts according to his direction, then one's perfection of life in Krishna consciousness is guaranteed. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Dharantanam. Mataji, unmute.
Oh, okay. Hare Krishna. So in this is a very important verse where Krishna is guaranteeing us something. What is that? If you act according to my instructions, mat chitta satatam bhava. If you're always conscious of me, if you always depend on me, you always work under my protection, then what is it? I will keep you engaged in devotional service all the time. So this is our sadhana. This is also our sadhya. What is a sadhya? Sadhya means a goal. The goal is also to always remember Krishna by chanting his names, and the process to attain this position of always serving the Lord, that is also chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So one has no goal except acting in Krishna consciousness, and this should be mat paraha, mata parataram na anyat kinchit asti dhananjaya. Oh Arjuna, think of me with a complete focus, right? Not having several things in your mind, but you have to be dedicated in your attention, in your service to me, exclusively serving me, right? And how such service is to be done? The such service is to be done according to the instructions of Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, not whimsically, right? So somebody may think, okay, I'm eating non-vegetarian food, I'll offer non-veg to Krishna and I will eat it. That is very materialistic understanding, or one's own concoctive understanding of whatever I like, I will offer to the Lord and I will eat it. So that Krishna will never accept it, because Krishna has very clearly told, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yome Bhaktya Prayachati. If you offer with love and devotion, fruit, flower, leaf or water, I will accept it. Right? So one has to understand what Krishna wants, how we can please the Lord by following the instructions of a bona fide spiritual master. Because the spiritual master has understood the Lord and he is passing the instructions of the Lord to us, so that we can ask our spiritual master, we can ask our gurus, am I serving you in a way that's pleasing you? Then yes, we get a positive answer from them. Or they may say, okay, Medhani, don't do it like this, do it like this. This will be better. This will be more pleasing to the Lord. This is better devotional service. Then we get ourselves corrected, and then we work according to the instructions of our gurus. In this way, we can be very sure we are pleasing the Lord. Why? Because we are pleasing his representatives, who are our spiritual masters. Okay, let's move ahead. Okay. Who will read now? Manasi Mataji, and then Hema Mataji, and then Sudha Mataji. All right. We'll do till 58, 59, 60 today. All right. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Machchitta sarva durgani mat prasada tarishyasi yatha chet tvam ahankaram na shroshyasi vinanshasi. Synonyms: mat, of me; chitta, being in consciousness; sarva, all; durgani, impediments; mat prasadat, by my mercy; tarishyasi, you will overcome; atha, but; chet, if; tvam, you; ahankarat, by false ego; na shroshasi, do not hear; vinakshasi, you will be lost. Translation by Prabhupada. Jai Shri Prabhupada. If you become conscious of me, you will pass over all the obstacles of conditioned life by my grace. If, however, you do not work in such consciousness, but act through false ego, not hearing me, you will be lost. Purport. A person in full Krishna consciousness is not unduly anxious about executing the duties of his existence. The foolish cannot understand this great freedom from all anxiety. For one who acts in Krishna consciousness, Lord Krishna becomes the most intimate friend. He always looks after his friend's comfort, and he gives himself to his friend, who is so devotedly engaged with working 24 hours a day to please the Lord. Therefore, no one should be carried away by the false ego of the bodily concept of life. One should not falsely think himself independent of the laws of material nature, or free to act. He is already under strict material laws, but as soon as he acts in Krishna consciousness, he is liberated, free from the material perplexities. One should note very carefully that one who is not active in Krishna consciousness is losing himself in the material whirlpool in the ocean of birth and death. No conditioned soul actually knows what is to be done and what is not to be done. But a person who acts in Krishna consciousness is free to act because everything is prompted by Krishna from within and confirmed by the spiritual master. Hare Krishna Mataji Dandavat Pranam. So true.
Thank you. So this is very, very clear, right? So we are not speculating. Okay, this might please Krishna. Oh, this might please Krishna, right? If we do that, then what are we doing? We are just going simply by the injunctions of our mind, right? You also saw that Shreya Swadharmo Vigunaha Paradharmat Swanusthitat. What is that? Shreyan Swadharmo Vigunaha Paradharmat Swanusthitat. Swadharme Nidanam Shreyas Paradharmo Bhayavaha. Right? One need to only perform one's own duties. Shreyan Swadharmo Vigunaha. Right? Paradharma Swanusitat. So doing one's own duty even imperfectly, it's better than following somebody else's duty. Swadharme Nidanam Shreya. Nidanam means to get killed, to lose one's life in performing one's duty. Nidanam Shreya. That is better than Paradharmo Bhayavaha. Rather than performing somebody else's duties, because doing somebody else's duties means it's Bhayavaha. It's very, very dangerous. Right? So what are we supposed to do? We are simply supposed to do our duty, but we have to dovetail our duties, our propensities, our actions in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And if it is according to the instructions of a spiritual master, once we perform that action, we can go back and verify with our spiritual master. So I did this, right? Like we sent out our report, what is Pashankusha Ekadashi report. Right? So many devotees joined for the Ekadashi special session. We did these things. We studied 2 verses. Then we studied the introduction of the Bhagavad Gita. We sang Radhika Ashtakam. We sang Damodara Ashtakam. And then we continued the introduction of the Bhagavad Gita. And then so many, 43 devotees chanted extra rounds. They gave Sankalpa and they chanted, and they are giving the names of all the devotees. And the spiritual master sees this. When our Guru said, you're so happy. Like so many are engaged in chanting more rounds of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So when they are pleased, they bless us, then we are able to perform more devotional service. And in this way, when they give their blessings to us, we know that they are pleased. When they are pleased, automatically, Lord Krishna is pleased. That's how we know. Otherwise, we don't know what pleases Krishna, and we cannot act according to our own mental concoctions or our own whims and fancies. Okay. Hema Mataji, go ahead. Text number 59. Hema Mataji, please unmute.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Yes.
Mataji, please read the...
Yes. Yat ahankaram ashritya nayotsya iti manyase mityaisha vyavasayaste prakriti swam niyokshati. Synonyms, word-to-word translation.
Synonyms, you, it, akankaram of false ego, asritya, taking shelter, nayotse, I shall not fight, iti, thus, manyase, you, think, mityai, isha, this is all false, vyavasya, determination, your prakrit, material nature, tvyam, you, niyok isyati, will engage. Translation: if you do not act according to my directions and do not fight, then you will be falsely directed. By your nature, you will have to be engaged in warfare. Purport: Arjuna was a military man and born of the nature of the Kshatriya. Therefore, his natural duty was to fight. But due to false ego, he was fearing that by killing his teacher, grandfather, and friends, he would incur sinful reactions. Actually, he was considering himself master of his actions, as if he were directing the good and bad results of each work. He forgot that the Supreme Personality of Godhead was present there, instructing him to fight. That is the forgetfulness of the conditioned soul. The Supreme Personality gives directions as to what is good and what is bad, and one simply has to act in Krishna consciousness to attain the perfection of life. No one can ascertain his destiny as the Supreme Lord can therefore the best course is to take direction from the Supreme Lord and act. No one should neglect the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead or the order of the spiritual master, who is the representative of God. One should act in unhesitatingly to execute the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That will keep one safe under all circumstances. Hare Krishna Mata.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. So even in in our general office also we see, if you work under our project lead and the project manager takes some decisions, and even if that particular decision fails, right? So for example, if we are the project manager also, we have taken the decision in a committee where we've sat through with the head of the department, and we've taken a particular decision, and then we've executed the project in a particular way, but that project failed. Our decision or our strategy did not work, then we need not worry about it, right? Because it was discussed in the committee, it had the blessings of the senior most person, right? The head of the department or whoever it may be, right? So when we do things on our own, like we take a decision without consulting anybody, and that even if it results in a success, they will say, they will try to take away that credit from you because you have not discussed it. And if it fails, then what happens? They will put the entire burden on you. Whereby this person will be probably kept on a bench because, you're not able to take any decisions properly, or this person will not get promotion, whatever, right? Whatever, they may penalize that person because he took a decision independently and that misfired. Whereas like that in the material world also, if you have the blessings of your superiors, at least you have that protection when something goes wrong. And how much more true it will be in the spiritual world, in the spiritual consciousness at least, right? Because this material world is a world of exploitation. Sometimes you might have consulted the head also, but yet the head will tell, you didn't consult with me, you did it on your own record, so you are responsible for the failure of the project, right? Because the exploitation is the mentality of this material world, whereas protection is the mentality of the spiritual world. That is why the lower we are in the rung in the spiritual consciousness, the more protection we have, because we have so many devotees above us. The more we try to become the leader, we keep the material consciousness in our mind. We want to grow. We want to become the leader. Why? Because if you become the topmost person in the material world, in an organization, then the more you can exploit people. Or even if you don't want to exploit people, you will not be exploited by others, right? Because you're situated in a higher position. Whereas in the spiritual consciousness, the position is the best to be the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of the Supreme Lord. Why? Because the more lower we are, there are higher coverings of protection that will keep us protected even when we commit some mistakes. Nobody will feel, oh, should I tell her? Should I not tell her? What will she take it as? No, right? People will be open and welcome to tell us where we are going wrong so that we can be safely situated in bhakti, right? So in material parlance, the higher we grow, the less we are exploited. Whereas it is just the opposite. The lower we are in the spiritual parlance, right? Even the highest leader is called a servant leader in spiritual parlance. Why? Because that person only wants to serve the other person in a way that would help the other person grow in Krishna consciousness. So there is only service and there is only the position of being a servant to the other person, because this person wants to please the other person, want to help the other person, not to please in the sense of the other person. No. This person wants to serve the other person in a way that he or she grows in Krishna consciousness, and that is the ultimate benefit that we can give others. We can help others, we can do the greatest benefit for the others when we are able to engage them in Krishna consciousness, when able to enable them to grow in Krishna consciousness, enable them to remember Krishna and never forget Krishna, like that. Okay, last verse for today. Let's ask Sudha Mataji to read text number 60. So with this, we will end our today's session. All right. Sudha Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandat Pranam Mataji. Yes.
स्वभावजेन कौन्तेय निबद्ध स्वेन कर्मणा कर्तुं नेच्छसि यन्मोहात् करिष्यसि अवशोऽपि तत्. Synonyms: Swabhava, Jaina, born of your own nature. Kaunteya, O son of Kunti. Nibbadha, conditioned. Swena, by your own. Karmana, activities. Kartum, to do. Na, not. Ichhasi, you like. Yat, that which. Mohat, by illusion. Karishyasi, you will do. Avasha, involuntarily. Api, even. Tat, that. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Under illusion, you are now declining to act according to my direction, but compelled by the work born of your own nature, you will act all the same, O son of Kunti. Purport: if one refuses to act under the direction of the Supreme Lord, then he is compelled to act by the modes in which he is situated. Everyone is under the spell of a particular combination of the modes of nature and is acting in that way. But anyone who voluntarily engages himself under the direction of the Supreme Lord becomes glorious. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
So as Jivatmas, our duty is always to serve. Right? We have to serve always. Right? Either we serve Krishna or we may serve Maya. How we utilize our time, how we what is the consciousness that we've developed, right? Because serving we have to do. We are servants. Our constitutional position is to serve, right? That is like a sugar's dharma. I mean, the sweetness is the sugar of dharma. I mean, what am I saying? Sweetness is the dharma of sugar, isn't it? Sugar and sweetness cannot be separated. Similarly, service is the dharma of the soul, right? So either we serve the Supreme Lord or we serve Maya. If we serve Maya, we will get entangled more and more in the complexities of the three modes of material nature. Whereas if you want to get entangled, we can continue to act according to the education of our mind. But if you want to get out of the clutches of Maya, get out of the three modes of material nature, then what are we supposed to do? We are supposed to listen to our gurus who are coming in a bona fide Guru Parampara, who know the desires of the Lord and who can tell us how we can engage ourselves in the service of the Lord and under the direction of the Supreme Lord and the direction of the spiritual master, our life will become glorious because our life would be a life dedicated to serving the Supreme Lord and his devotees. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Srila Gurudev ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Okay, Shobha Mataji, please send me a message. Just we got late. It's already 12:30. So send me a message. I will reply back to you. And if you want the 108 shlokas also, I will send it to you. Okay. Hare Krishna. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai.